Hey guys, I'm back again. It's actually been quite a while since I recorded my last one of these. You guys wouldn't know that because I post consistently. Um, and for a while there I was recording like one of these a day. I was just kind of on a roll and I spread out the postings, but I haven't been on this in like, I don't know, couple weeks at least 3-4 weeks. Been taking a break, doing some other things, but I had an experience yesterday that I felt was right to come on here and share about. So I've done a good amount of episodes on moving very quickly, moving very fast, the mind kind of taking over, the body following, or maybe the body moving fast and the mind taking over. They both kind of work hand in hand with that dance. And yesterday, towards the end of the day, I just felt, God, I don't know, kind of hit me like a train. I had a pretty busy day. I've been having pretty busy days lately. I've been doing a lot. I'm starting my own CBD business with my brother, so we're trying to get that business off the ground and spread awareness and make partnerships and talk to lots of people and do some grassroots marketing and things like that. So that's been a lot of work. I also work full time, and I like to do the podcast and interact with my community and do that. And then in addition, I just have the nuts and bolts of my life and my dog, my husband, my friends, my family, relationships and things like that. So I've just been kind of spreading myself thin. And I've been feeling it, but I've really been trying to start my morning slow, take some breaks, and rest when I can. But a couple weeks ago, my husband and I were having a conversation, and he asked me, how do you rest? Like, how do you actually relax? And I didn't really have an answer for that because I have tools that I use in my life that I like to look at as preventative tools. So every morning I meditate. Pretty much every morning, I would say about 95% of my mornings, I start very slowly. I wake up, I feed my dog, I make some warm water or a drink. I drink it, I read, I meditate, I write some affirmations down, and I just start my day slowly, and that kind of carries on into my day. So I guess you could look at that as relaxation, but when he asked me that question, I'm like, I don't really have an activity that I can lean back on to relax. Like if something's getting out of hand or I'm feeling overwhelmed, I don't have something to escape to. I don't really like that choice of word because I don't want to think that I'm escaping something, but you probably get the idea. So yesterday I had taken a bath, and again, I don't even try, but I feel like so many of my stories have to do with something around baths or showers. It's funny, I didn't even realize that this one was, but I guess it is. I took a bath, and I came downstairs, and in the bath I was thinking about, for our CBD company, I'm going to start blogging, and I really want to dive deep into a lot of topics in the industry and start really learning about them so I can speak on them, and doing a lot of research. And so I started just like firing off all these blog ideas. I mean, my mind was going so fast. And before that, to give some context, I had felt my mind going pretty quickly. It's kind of abstract to talk about this feeling, but I just felt my mind kind of shooting off lots of ideas, spreading itself thin, kind of jumping around into different categories of my life. And what I mean by that is like, I get a flood of ideas for the CBD stuff. Oh, and then I'm over here towards my day job work. And then, oh no, I have to like walk my dog. I have to do this. And my mind just feels like it jumps around really fast. And sometimes that can get ahead of me if I don't pay attention. So I felt it already doing that. And then during my bath, I felt the same thing. And then I came down and I was just shooting off all these ideas on paper, and my mind was moving so quickly. And all of a sudden I started getting really nauseous. And it kind of freaked me out a little bit because I just did not feel well. And I just stopped what I was doing, even though this is very hard for me to do when my mind is, ironically, when my mind is going very fast, it's really hard to stop, even though you kind of know that you should. I've talked about this before, but I just was like, I need to stop. And so I put my pen down, put the list down, I put my hands on my stomach, and I asked myself, what do I need? And this was pretty bizarre because all of a sudden it was like, I don't know where the answer came from, but it was like this, it's almost like a huge sign flashed before me that said rest. You just need rest. You need to stop. You need to rest. And almost like, I'm trying to think of the right word, but something like catapulted me out of my seat. And I was, walking briskly. Is that a word? Briskly. Brisk walk. Yeah, I was walking rapidly, swiftly around my living room, turning off all the lights, closing all of the shutters, making it just a very quiet, dark, peaceful space. And I just laid on the couch and I put a blanket over me and I just laid there and I felt my body and my mind buzzing. I felt sick. I felt nauseous. I felt like I was going way too fast. And I was feeling that, when you go from 100 to 0, you feel that all of those effects in your body. You feel that buzzing. You feel that chaos just like swimming in your skin, in your organs almost. It sounds intense. I mean, it was intense. So I was feeling all of these things. I was laying there and I was putting my hands on my stomach and I was trying to sink into the couch that I was laying in. So just relaxing my body, releasing my body, letting all of the tension go. And it was really hard because I found myself ebbing and flowing. So it was like I would let myself relax a little bit and then all of a sudden the nausea would come back. And for me, nausea is a huge trigger because nausea was the really intense, horrible feeling that I had right before I fainted in my traumatic experience that I had back in 2015. And so whenever I get nauseous, I slow the fuck down because it's a huge trigger. It scares me. And so I don't like when it's there. I resist it still. And so I was laying down, felt very nauseous, and then I would go in and out of the nausea. So if I would let myself relax a little bit, it would kind of go away. And then I would, kind of tense up again, and then it would come back. And I was trying to figure out what was happening when it would come back. Like, why was it coming back? And I was watching my mind, and what I realized is every time something would come back to do, so like, you need to do the list for the CBD business, you need to feed Bear, you need to, silly enough, even when I was going through the experience, I was like, should I do a podcast episode on this? And anything that came up for me to do in that moment made me sick. So it started to become a tangible feeling. I would relax, kind of let my mind go, release any to-dos, release anything that I needed to be responsible for in that moment, and I would relax. And then all of a sudden, a to-do would come up, and it felt like a force almost grabbed me, like, you have to get up and do this, you can't relax. And then all of a sudden, I'd get nauseous again. And it was this dance back and forth, and then I found or observed how hard it was for me to let go of my to-dos. And I realized, I'm like, this is making me sick. All of these to-dos that I put on my calendar every day, not necessarily the to-do list in and of itself, but it's my relationship with it. It's the tyrant spirit that I've talked about before. It's, I need to do this, I can't rest, I can't relax, I have to get up, I have to keep moving, I have to keep working. There's no option to stop. It's that spirit, it's that energy inside of me. And I was watching this when I was laying there. Whenever something would come up for me to do and I felt this almost like a compulsive action or impulse to go do it, I felt like I had to act on it, I would feel nauseous. And then I would say, no, I don't. I could release it a little bit. And then I would feel better. And it was back and forth and back and forth and back and forth with this dance for, at least 30 to 45 minutes. And it felt horrible because when the impulses would come back to do something, they often would like hit me like a train, because I would fall into a little bit of a relaxation and then boom, just something would hit me again, like, oh, you got to go get up and do this. And it was like, almost like frightened me. But then what I started to do was I observed enough of these cycles to realize what was going on. And then what I started to do is I started to almost intentionally visualize everything that I needed to do. And what I did was I visualized them as balloons. So I visualized them as balloons that were attached to me. So the strings were attached to my body, the end of the balloon string, and then the balloon would be at the top, and the balloon would hold the to-do, whatever it was. And there was a bunch of balloons tied to me, in my vision of this. And I was just laying there, and I felt all of these balloons trying to lift me off the ground and not ground me in my being, in presence, in relaxation, in just that peaceful moment. So I envisioned all these balloons trying to carry me away into some, chaotic place in my mind and in just my experience. So I felt all these balloons and kind of sucked. But then what I also imagined was that I had a pair of scissors. This was like metaphysical. I didn't actually visualize myself physically doing it. It was more like there was a guiding hand helping me, if you will, maybe a divine hand or some divinity within me helping me cut all of these balloons. And as I cut the strings of these balloons, they lifted off and they no longer had an effect on me. They no longer were weighing me down. It's kind of the opposite of the vision, because the balloons were carrying me up. But I was trying to let go metaphysically of all of these to-dos that were just really affecting me in that moment yesterday. And as I was able to cut all of these balloons, some would kind of come back and then I would have to work on those a little bit more. But before I knew it, as I was releasing this need or this desire to do anything and let go of that tyrannical spirit that I speak of, I fell asleep. And it was so blissful. And it was one of those sleeps where I fell asleep probably for maybe 15 to 20 minutes. I mean, I wasn't timing it, but I could just kind of tell, through the night and how the night went when my husband came home, etc. It was about a 20-minute nap. And then I was kind of in and out of that. I forget the brainwave state, but I think it's like a theta brainwave state when you're deep in relaxation, where you're almost sleeping, but you're kind of in and out. I was very creative, imaginative, slow, relaxed. I was able to let go of all the strain that I was putting on myself in that moment prior. And then my nausea had went away. I felt great. I felt energized. I felt the vitality, almost like a rebirth in that experience. And my husband ended up coming home from work a little bit after I'd been relaxing or so for maybe, 30, 45 minutes or so. And I told him, I said, now I have a way to relax. I have an answer to your question, because before I didn't really have an answer. And whatever experience or exercise that I did last night with metaphysically cutting these balloons and releasing all of these to-dos from, my mind, or releasing the pull that I had towards them, the need to do them, it really helped me. It helped me just fall into a deep relaxation. And like I said, it took maybe 30 to 45 minutes to get there, and then maybe another 30 to 45 minutes there in that state with a little nap in there, and I felt like a new person. And it just got me thinking into how often, I don't really crash like I used to before, but I used to work myself into the ground in years prior, and then I would just crash, like sometimes for days. I just could not handle, I guess, what I was putting my body through, and I wasn't paying attention, and I wasn't seeing what I was doing, and then I would just have panic attacks, or I would be lethargic. I would just be out for a variety of reasons, couldn't be around people, couldn't do my daily tasks. Sometimes I'd have to call off of work. It was awful, the cycles that I would go through and feel. And after last night, I'm like, wow, a solid hour to hour and a half of actual relaxation and rest just boosted me up. And I mean, I slept fantastic last night. I slept throughout the night. I woke up today with so much energy, feeling so much vitality in my body. And it, it shifted my perception on rest and relaxation. Because I think a lot of us, I'll speak for myself, but I've talked to a lot of people that deal with this, sometimes we don't really know how to relax. We want to relax. We see other people talking about relaxation. We know that it's good for us, but we can't really turn off the mind. And we don't really know how to turn off the mind because the damn thing is so powerful. And yesterday I kind of ended up stumbling on something that worked for me, which is cool. I know things are, individual to people. I'm not saying it would work for everybody, but it worked for me. And a theme that's been coming up for me in the realm of relaxation is sometimes, or a lot of the time, I should say, you got to kind of go through the shit to gain access to a reward. What I mean by that is, in the at least experience yesterday, the first 30 to 45 minutes were just horrible. I mean, I just didn't feel good. You feel the residual effects of what you've been doing. If you've been running yourself into the ground, if you've been going too fast, you feel that. And you have to consciously feel that in order to, what is the whole saying, feel it to heal it? Yeah, you have to feel it to heal it. And I don't know if I was necessarily healing anything last night, but I had to feel it to go through it. And then once I was able to feel it, see what was going on, and feel it enough to see what was going on, I was able to watch, observe, kind of take out my emotion a bit, and then actually develop a good tool, if you will, or a practice or some sort of solution for that moment, to kind of get through it, to navigate through it. But I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't sit with the uncomfortable feelings for however long I needed to sit with them. And that's really hard to do. We don't always want to do that. It sucks. It doesn't feel good. It feels icky. It in the long term it's not good, but it's easier to distract with work. I mean, my vice, one of my vices is work. I can just work myself, into the ground if I want to. But yesterday I saw the reward of not doing that. I gained access to the reward of just sitting there, stopping, doing something I don't usually do, and seeing what sat on the other side of it. And that was powerful. It shifted me. So, yeah, it was great. I'm curious to see how, if I were to try that again, how that experience would go. Sometimes you try something and it works great in that moment, but it's hard to replicate because then, at least for me, I kind of bring an expectation to a lot of things, and I try to replicate it again, and then I'm expecting it to work in the same way that it did the first time, and maybe it's a different scenario, different combination of emotions, or a different experience, and it wouldn't work that way. And if you're like me, you bring an expectation and then you get upset if it doesn't work in the same way. So I don't know, maybe it was a one-time thing. Maybe it was a seed to a bigger theme of relaxation. Maybe it was just a sign that, hey, slowing down helps you, for me, because I keep getting signs of that. I keep getting messages that slowing down is the way to go for me. I get way more done. I think way more creatively. I'm just a happier person. I'm a better person. I'm a more present and mindful person. Everything feels better when I'm moving slowly. And I just like me. I like me when I'm slow. More than I like me when I'm fast. But on top of that, I feel like we gotta love all parts of ourselves. So I gotta see the part of myself that moves fast, understand why Ashley, that version of Ashley, wants to move fast, and love and appreciate that part, because that part serves me in a certain part of my life, and it has for many years, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just not sustainable. And so I like to think that I'm trying to move away from that part, but it served me well for a number of reasons in a number of areas of my life. But slow is good. I keep keep getting that message everywhere. It's like the universe is throwing it at me. So I guess I'm throwing it at you guys. For whoever this resonates with, if you need to hear it, if you feel like it, you're one of these people that needs to slow down, tap into that. Do what you can to practice it, because it is a practice, especially if you're someone who has been wired to move fast. Trauma, fast-paced life, your family, whatever, your job. If you're wired to move fast, it is certainly a practice to learn how to move slow. So anyway, this podcast, actually, I wanted to give a quick little update about it. So I miss people. I miss talking to people. And I started this new version of the podcast when I had said that the production aspect kind of overwhelmed me, having people on and struggling to be myself and all those things. But I missed having people. And lately I've been reaching out to more people in my life, making myself more vulnerable, as you probably heard from the last episode that I did with the vulnerability and righting my wrongs. I've been actually deep in a process of that. What I did was I made a list of people that I felt like I had unresolved issues with. And I've been making meetings or scheduling meetings with these people one-on-one, or sometimes two-on-one, depending on who they were. And I've been apologizing for what I feel like I need to apologize for. And the vulnerability and the connection from these experiences has been unbelievable. It's opened me up in good ways. And it makes me a bit less scared of people now. And I'm learning that people aren't as scary as I thought. And so that kind of brings me to wanting to talk to people again on the podcast and just in life. But I'm talking about the podcast here. And so I actually didn't plan to do this episode. I was going to jump right in from the last one to having guests, but this one kind of came about randomly, spontaneously. And I wanted to share with you all that I will be bringing some guests back on, and I will probably be changing the name of this yet again. I have a curiosity to tap into unknown stuff. I watched a TED Talk about a near-death experience, which was just fascinating. And I have this really deep, I don't know if I would call it a deep, but it's this desire to talk about like near-death experiences and death and psychedelic trips and sleep states and, hypnagogic jerks and sleep disturbance and other healing natural health stories and primitive ancestral stuff. Like I love that part of life. It's so intriguing to me. The stuff that we don't know and the stuff that we can only speculate on but feels so real because it's in our perception, it's in our experiences, like these near-death experiences and psychedelic trips, for example. It's like they're real, or they're not real, but they're real. It's like I just love that stuff. And so I will probably be changing the name, or I will be changing the name. I don't know why I said probably. I will. And I plan on having guests as well as doing these solo episodes as well whenever they come up organically. But you will start seeing a hybrid coming through of both. And be prepared for that name change. I'm pretty sure it's going to be called Death, Psychs, Sleep, and Health, because that's just stuff I like talking about. Simple, right? Easy. I like simple, clear, easy. So yeah, that update will be coming shortly, probably after the first of the year. And that's all I think for me for now. Cool. I don't have much else. I'm about to get my day started. And wherever you are in the world, wherever you are in your day, that's where you are. Nothing else. All right. I will, I always feel like I want to end this with a graceful, I'll talk to you next time, but I won't, because I'm not talking to anybody right now. So you'll hear from me next time.